Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Pretty good. What about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because Hey Daryl, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right. What about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Right, I'm gonna step away for a few. I'll be back.
Okay. Lisa, where you located?
I'm in DC.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How about you?
I'm in New Jersey.
Right. That's what I remember.
Yeah,
It's
we're
been a
not too
while since
far.
I've been on these, so I'm happy to hop back on and see what you guys got going.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey, Marcus. Can't hear you. No, not yet. Oh, nope. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear nothing.
I didn't turn the mic on. That's why, yeah. So yeah, I had to turn the Unity video off. One you had told us about.
Okay, okay. So
See,
what's going
listen,
on?
brother, we listen.
Huh?
I said we listen.
All right. We got one more minute. Let's see if Jim is going to come. We know Alicia, she's not going to be able to make it today. All right. Hello, Mary. Hello, Marcus, Gary, Thurman.
Good morning, Daryl. Thank you.
All right, all right. Oh, we got two Marcus. Marcus Parrish. All right. Where's everyone from? Mary, where you from? Oh, hey, Gregory, what's up?
Hey, Daryl. Afternoon. Hello, everybody.
Hey, good afternoon.
Great to be
How's the
here.
weather?
Oh, it's not bad. Look, although it's gonna be pouring later, so we got. I don't know if you see the news. We have this crazy storm on the way.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I don't know.
How's it there?
Something been happening here in Jersey. We had rain for like 3 days.
Yeah, you did that. That hurricane came your way, right? The one that, by God's grace. All
All
right.
right. Hey, Floretta. We missed you yesterday.
You know what? I
We
miss you
missed
guys
you
more.
and Marcus.
But it's been, Daryl, it's been raining. It seems like since, I don't know, we haven't seen the sun in like, I don't know how long. It's been terrible here in Jersey. But good to see you guys.
Hey, good to see everyone. So it's 2:00, and the capital I sent out an email reminding everyone about the capital raise strategy session, and I had put a guest speaker named Randy Smith on the reminder. However, that's an error on my part. Randy won't be here today. He will be coming on the 11th. All right. So I just want to let everybody know that was a mistake, a mix up on my part. I was thinking that Randy was going to be here today, but so it's going to be for now. It's going to be us. I would like for everyone put in the chat where you're from. The one thing when it's coming to capital raising, which I'm sure all of you know, you got to start building a relationship with each other. All right, or that is, excuse me, you guys. It's all about building a relationship. You got to get to know people. You got to get to know who they are, where they're from. All right. Someone here, is anyone working on a deal where you need help raising capital? You may need help with some GPs. You may need help with the deal. All right. Is there anyone here that needs help with a deal or anything? Or you're working on anything?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Frank,
Go ahead.
if I can chime in right quick. So just finished one the other day, and so now we're on another one that we're looking at right now. And just as capital itself. And so it's looking good so far, just going through the numbers. But yeah, so if anyone is looking for an opportunity to be able to invest passively, do hit me up. Numbers on this is still looking good. The operator is great. And I'm gonna put my information here. Let me know if you want to know more information about it, please. Thank you. Thank you, Daryl.
Fantastic. So is it a 506B or 506C?
It's a B. It's a B fund. Correct.
It's a B. Okay.
B.
Okay.
B fund.
You know, the one thing I don't understand, do you have your pitch deck for your 506 for your deal?
I am reviewing the deal right now. So we got it. We just got it last night. And so reviewing it so far is looking good. And we got to meet as a team to go over the numbers, make sure everything is actually is actually okay. We've already vetted the operator before because we've worked with them before. So we have that comfort already. And they've performed, in fact, overperformed thus far. So can't really complain about that part. And so now which is just the deal. We like the location, it's in Dallas. We like the numbers, 200 doors, and it's a B class, late 90s built. And so we're just again gotta go over the numbers, make sure the numbers are solid as they're looking right now before we actually start to actually send information out.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. All right. So Greg, we're going to be working on his deal, and once it's done, Greg's going to be bringing it here because he's looking for capital, right? Everyone's coming in. Hold on one second. Everyone's coming in here. All right. I see your hand, Steve. Give me 1 second. Just want to say to everyone, the email I sent out said Randy Smith was going to be here, and that was a mistake on my part. Randy Smith will be here, not today, but he will be here in a couple of weeks. All right. So I just want to let everybody know that. Okay. Go ahead, Steve. What you got?
So we are my partners who are doing the note investing. I presented, I think, 2 weeks ago. Kind of did our pitch deck there. We just had our quarterly meeting, and we're kind of on track to hit our annual goals here by the end of the year, which is very exciting. But we're on the hunt for raising about 150,000 for closing on a handful of notes that we haven't yet identified. But if anyone's looking to be a passive investor, I don't know that that's anyone here. Everyone here is pretty active. But if anybody has anybody who knows they want to be a passive investor and has 150, I'd love to be put in contact or chat more about what it is we're doing.
All right. Cool.
Quick question. Steve, where is your acquisition at?
Nationwide. We're buying performing and non-performing notes. Most of our portfolio this year has been smaller second position non-performing. But as we're starting to do our fundraises more and more, we're looking to bring on more performing assets. So our 150K raise, give or take, really maybe more like 180. We'd be looking to close on about 200,000 unpaid principal, and then manage those notes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. Now, Steve, the last time you and your partner presented, I know we were talking about also commercial and stuff like that. So is there any new light that you could share with us in reference to commercial notes that you maybe be getting?
We would be looking for the rest of this year to stick with our goals. I don't think we'd be looking at commercial this year because we went, back in December of last year, we had our goals and our rocks set out. So we're sticking to that for the end of the year. I would
Okay.
say by the time we get to the end of this quarter or this next quarter, and we're setting our annual goals for next year,
Right.
I would like to introduce more commercial and more unique asset into the portfolio. Because I like to do the weird stuff, man. I'm in mobile home parks. Like that's a confusing, unique niche of its own. I would like to do commercial, flex spaces, industrial. You know, give me an airport. Give me a marina. Give me something weird. I'd love that.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Well, listen, like I said to you and your partner the last time, hey, keep me in mind, please. For
Mhm.
if you happen to
Absolutely.
get some notes for commercial multifamily.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
All
you're
right.
looking probably maybe a little bit more of a price point than we are currently for the rest of the year. But yeah, we're keeping it in mind. We have a lot of growth ahead of us.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. So did I saw a few more people came in. Again, today we were supposed to I sent out an email stating that Randy Smith was going to be here. Randy Smith is not going to be here today. He's going to be here in a couple of weeks. Okay, a couple of weeks. So for the day, what I'm looking for is to see who needs help raising capital. Okay. If you need help, matter of fact, who has a deal with a pitch deck that they would like to share? Right? Anyone? Because it's all about raising capital, right? It's all about raising capital.
I got a pitch deck right now, but I don't know if it's something that you guys are accustomed. If you want me, how can I send it to you guys so that you guys can see it?
So is it now? You said what kind of acquisition is it? It's multifamily. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's a multifamily deal. Let me pull it back up again. Give me 1 second.
Sure. And
It's
you
a
got it under
multifamily.
contract?
So what we're doing is we've already closed on a few, but we're still
Right.
capital raising for the other.
Okay.
Just so that we can put more stuff into the to the fund. And that's what we're still raising money for, but they are closed. And again, we're just raising for CapEx funds and stuff like that for just in case.
Okay. So when are you closing?
No, these properties are already closed.
Oh, so you're just backfilling now.
Right.
Okay, cool. All right. And can you tell us where the properties are located?
So the properties are located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And here I don't mean to put myself on the spot now. I'm trying to find my pitch deck here. But yeah, we have 4 major properties over there, roughly the size of about 1,000 units in total.
Okay.
And we're looking to hold these long term. We are giving an option to whether you want to be a debt investor or an equity investor or both, right? And as far as what I can just say right now, it's 15 per year if you want to just keep your money for 1 year. And if you want to keep it for multiple years after that, then it'll be a conversation to where we can start off at around 10 over 10.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you have your pitch deck handy, let's present it. Let's see what you got.
Give me like 5 minutes so you guys can talk about something else, and then I'll
Okay. He said talk about something. All right. Anyone here from Texas, the Houston area?
Actually, if I can jump in, I just had a tape of notes of 19 notes that are second position performing. So I guess I need that money sooner than later. I'm ready. I'll have to look at these, go through what I've got here, make some offers, and I might have something to legitimately present here next week for you guys if anyone's interested.
Sounds good. Okay, let's do that. Yeah. Now, how long is your whole time on your notes?
So typically, typically we have a due diligence period of about 15 to 30 days or so to look through the paperwork and make sure everything looks good. But right now, we just got this list of everything of all these properties. Their first position notes are performing, the second positions are performing. We're looking at balances of under 100,000 for each note. So, I mean, the 19 notes right now is a total of 1.3. I'm going to pick and choose what we want to bid on, pick out a couple of the best looking ones and see what we can raise and
Okay.
go through the due diligence. So I think I have to turn these in by October 4th is when the bids
Okay.
are due.
All right. Now, the process, when you say due diligence,
Mhm.
you know, what does that process what did that process include? What's part of due diligence?
Sure. So before due diligence, while we're in this phase of the next week here, we take a look at the notes, we do our underwriting, we check the metro, we check the balance, we base it off of what the seller has told us. We
Yeah.
make our offers. Then we get a contract accepted. We go through due diligence, which is going to be us doing a title report on every one of the properties. We've
Right.
got a third-party vendor. They go and they do a BPO. Basically, is it a BPO? Not really, but we know what we're doing, so it's enough of what we need.
Right.
We look through, we make sure on that title report that the mortgages are recorded correctly and in the proper order, and that the balances and everything is correct. We double check the credit reports of the borrowers to see, okay, is this guy a 550 credit score or an 850? And we go through and just really look at the granular details of, does this appear to be as promising as we expect it to be? Since these are performing, we're really looking at the borrower and their history,
Right.
how old the note is. All of these notes here are from 2005 to 2008. So they've all got some really decent seasoning on them already, and they're current.
Okay.
So there should be a stable, steady thing going forward. And I just need to start looking at it and seeing what we get. So I'll definitely have some offers. We'll be offering something on some of these.
Right. Now, I'm curious, why are you going after performing notes versus non-performing?
Performing is cash flow. Non-performing is payday, I guess. That's like if non-performing is going to be more of a flip kind of situation. So it's the difference of, do you do all single family flips and get your big chunks of money every 6 to 9, 12 months? Or do you become a landlord and have a slower chunk of money rolling in slowly over time? We're just diversifying. So we've got both. Right now, most of our eggs are in the basket of non-performing. So we're waiting for everything to flip. We're waiting for that influx of money to come. And we want to also have some steady cash flow as well. So that's why we're doing performing.
Okay, good. That sounds interesting. So if I was to put in, how long would I have to wait before my capital is returned?
Generally, if we're doing a straight debt borrowing kind of thing, we can do
Mhm.
hypothecation or borrowing debt, and that's some note specific stuff here. We could return your principal in a year potentially. I don't want to really go that short because that's not going to be super favorable to us, obviously. I would say within, it could be this is ideal for like the passive investor who wants to park their money and sit there and make 8% steady over the next 10 to 30 years, however long is left on the note.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But of course, we can hypothecate these notes, which is basically refinancing on the notes. So, we do have intentions to borrow for 3 or 5 years at a time and pay out those investors by hypothecating and bringing in new investors to replace them.
Okay, I like that, man. I like that, Steve. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Stay tuned next week.
Yep, definitely will.
Probably maybe
JR,
even before then. I'll have to post something on there because it's
All right.
fast.
all right, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, JR, you ready?
Yes, sir. How do I do this? Do I just put a
Oh,
share screen?
Yeah, just share screen
Okay, awesome.
and let us know what you need help with and how much you're raising and stuff like that.
So let me go do this out of order. So the capital raise that we're looking to do is right here. And again, it's just a total of $10 million, right? Because some of these have already closed. But we are still, now, granted that this pitch deck is a little bit, older, like I would say 20 days old. So we did close on all of these property already. And right now, like I mentioned earlier, we're just looking to raise for, the back end stuff and what we need. My partner, Todd, don't ask me how to mention his last name. I just tell him, hey, this is Todd. So these are the properties that we're currently raising for, right? And these are some of the structures of what we're planning to do with them. This is our business plan. Improve rents per door, again, for all of these properties. These are non-performing properties that we got from the bank as a kind of how can I say this? Near foreclosure in a sense, right? So these are some of the things that we are planning to do with them. I'm not going to go through these because I want to respect everybody's time. If you guys, can you guys see it by chance? So that way you guys can just read it amongst yourselves, and then I'll just go to like the synopsis of things. So again, all these properties, these are our business plan to what we want to do for each one of them. Now, although this one is, for Baton Rouge, Louisiana property, this is the recent close. I believe it was like last month. And again, we're putting a lot of value adds through a lot of our properties here, and that's kind of the makeshift of what we're planning to do. Now, as far as if you're coming in as a debt or equity partner, right? That's not in the conversation of what this pitch deck is for, because we do have certain which I don't want to speak of because of SEC guidelines. But we would like to have that conversation with you individually and pretty much go from there and see where you'd like to be in a sense of whether a debt partner, equity partner, or both moving forward. But again, there is a good upside. We are somewhere around over the 18 AAR portion, because that's kind of where we're looking for, and that's what some of our investors are looking for, and we're hoping to meet that threshold. And for right now, what we tell our incoming investors is that basically we're at 15, but the more and more that you put in there, as far as money is concerned, you'll get a bigger chunk.
So your properties here, they're non-performing properties that you acquired directly from the bank.
Correct.
All right. And Steve, he does non-performing and performing notes that he gets from the bank.
I just realized that when he was talking, I'm like, hey, is there something that you and I can do?
Yeah, is this something that you and I can do? Right? Because I'm wondering, I'm like, how can I get when I got my license, because I have my license in real estate, and when I got my license, I started out on the residential side.
Mhm.
And there was my mentor. My mentor took me under her wing, and she said, how would you like to work directly with the bank? And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. So I wound up getting in contact. I took the short sale course and several other courses, but I wind up working directly with a bank, and that's how I was getting my listings. They would send me the properties that was being foreclosed upon, and it started out just like what Steve was saying. I was doing BPOs, so they would send me. I guess Steve was the one that was sending me the message saying, "Yo, we need a BPO done." I would go out there and do the BPO, send it back to Steve. Steve would then say, "Okay," and so forth. I would wind up listening it after that. So how did you break into this field? How did you break into this where you were able to get direct contact with, I think it's the special asset manager for commercial?
So that is not a question that I can answer per se, because as a group, collective as a group, I just joined this group not too long ago to help them fundraise
Right.
in with these properties. But I would have to refer you to Todd, because he's basically the main GP of all these properties, and it's his team is the one that has the best connection through how they got these. And I was basically coming in pretty much in the middle of the conversation, and then just kind of move forward from there. But from what I see in their office and on our calls, they have some pretty legitimate scaling performability, if that's even a word, because they're getting properties that are not even listed, even with the brokers. So
Yeah.
just like what you said, that you actually have a friend in the bank, and that's kind of what they got this one for, is because they
Yeah.
have a friend in the bank.
Yeah. I had built up a good relationship with the asset manager. And they would send me the property. I would list it. And then after that, I would say to that asset manager, "Hey, well, pass my name around to another asset manager, so that way I could start listing their stuff." And I live in the southern part of Jersey. I was riding all the way up to the northern part of Jersey, listing properties up there and stuff like that. So I definitely know what you're talking about, you and Steve. And I guess I got me some homework to do.
Daryl, I'm sorry, I
Yes,
can't figure out how to raise my hand on this thing.
it's
One
okay.
of the things that you can do, and all of us can do that, who is if you got CoStar, it tells you which properties are going underwater. And
Correct.
so then you can contact the mortgage company from there to talk to them about that. The second thing is that a lot of times when you find out what those properties are and you start talking, if you want to buy them as a note, they may entertain the note at that point, just so that they can get rid of it, or they'll sit back and put you on as one of their brokers if that's what they're in need of, at the time. Because that's something that's going to be really big in the next 2 to 3 years, is becoming the broker on the deals and also buying the notes for those who are interested in buying the notes. So, because people have been doing it for a very long time.
Hey man, how's it going?
I got it. Go ahead, Sandra.
So, but once you find out, and the other one is for folks to use TREP. That's an expensive program like CoStar, and it will tell you all the properties in whatever area you're interested in that are underwater right now. And you can start calling, or you can call the banks on that too, to decide if that's what you want to go after. I'm finished.
Now, Sandra, when I used to when I was working in residential, I had enrolled, or that is, I had signed up for a program. It was, I forgot the name of it. I think it was like something like a foreclosure something, and they would send me all the properties that was in the southern part of Jersey that that the banks had taken action on, to where they was getting ready to foreclose on them.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that they have this, there's that same thing is happening to on the commercial side?
Right. The same thing happens. It's two different sets of departments for the residential and the commercial. I used to do a boatload of the residential side, but the commercial side and residential side of the institutions don't even talk to each other.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And so now you have to sit back and get in on the commercial side, and you start off with the commercial lending section and start talking to them, because that's what I'm doing now. So that I can sit back and start getting in, at least as the listing agent. And then if I see something, then you can always purchase, because on the commercial side, you can purchase. On the residential side, you could not purchase.
Correct. Okay.
But TREP is one of the systems that lets you know all across the country, like CoStar, except they're more in depth. And the guy hasn't called me back on that, but the way I understand it is kind of costly. The way CoStar is costly. It'll tell you that who's behind everywhere in the country.
Okay. Now, Steve, did you post something about Reonomy?
Someone else did. Ricardo did.
Oh, Ricardo. Yeah, Ricardo. I'm with KW, and we do have Reonomy. I have CoStar. I don't have Reonomy because that's an extra fee. But if it's going to get me to where I need to go, maybe that's something that I need to look at. And thanks for posting that, Ricardo. Steve, you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, Sandra, reach out to me. I sent you a message here. I want to talk to you more. And I was curious if in your, it's my understanding that that special asset manager in the residential market at banks, they're not going to sell individual notes. It's not worth it to them. Is that the
Right.
same for the commercial side? It sounds like you were saying they are more entertaining of, one-offs at the commercial level.
Some do. Got some buddies of mine that are buying some notes, but they're not buying every note under the sun. They're just
Mm.
buying a few here and there about what they want. And it's like, okay, so they'll entertain that. There was some guy out in California was doing the same thing. I can't remember what his name is at this point. Daryl, you might have been on that call when I was with KW a few years ago with the African American agents. And so
Yeah.
we had somebody that was on that talked about. But I think now, if you're interested in something, you need to call and ask them,
Mhm.
can I buy this? If you're interested in that.
Gotcha.
And that's why I said
Okay.
TREP is really important at this point, because they give you every single asset out there of folks who are behind in their notes, and people are now going in either trying to get the listing or they're trying to buy the note on that one. I'm
Gotcha.
still waiting on trying to get information from TREP on how much that costs.
Right. And something else you said too, Sandra, was you alluded to there like this kind of being the beginning of some big note movement out there. I don't know. I don't know exactly what you said, but I went to an expo a couple months ago, and they were talking about how these commercial loans that were created, in the last 3 to 5 years, they were bridge loans essentially, and
Mhm.
they're coming due. They're either 1 to 5 years. They're coming due. They were
Right.
done at interest rates when interest rates were good, and now they're coming due. And not only are interest rates high, but insurance rates are high as well. And so these, multifamily properties, these new development projects, they underwrote at X, and they had some room in there for, if interest rates went up some, but no, I don't think many people predicted it was going to shoot up this much. So basically they were predicting at this expo there's going to be a windfall of commercial properties that are going to be
I've heard the
delinquent.
same thing.
Yeah,
I've
and they're
heard
going to
the
be
exact same
delinquent,
thing.
and that's going to
Mhm.
be kind of the beginning of not a recession, but of some different movement out there. So I'm eager to be on
That's
the front
correct.
end of that and know what's going on.
Well,
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 but I'm sorry, Daryl, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Sandra, go ahead.
So at this particular point in time, when we're looking at properties, those are the ones we need to be contacting now because, and to get their stuff refinanced, because those people are coming to the table with $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. They don't have that sitting in the bank in order to do that. So that is, it's a windfall on one side for have a bunch of cash. It's like, I'll buy that from you. And on the other side of the coin, if you don't have to have, if you can negotiate a good deal with them, then guess what? Is you got a nice project that you can sit back and fill up or do whatever you need to do with it, and then sell it later for a bigger price.
Yeah, Daryl, that's exactly what you want to do, I think, based on what you said last
Yeah.
week. That'll get you ownership of that property, and then you can really operate it how you want.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of you saying that it's going to happen or is coming down the pipe. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's happening right now.
That's true.
It's already happening. It's already taking place because I've ran across deals. I ran across properties that's on the watch list. I ran across properties that one property that just stays in my mind. He has a variable. He's trying his best to sell it. And this variable and the variable, if he tries to refinance the loan with this variable, it is going to push his rate all the way up to 10%. And it's going to kill him. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard spot on trying to get rid of this deal. But I've underwritten several properties, and when I go back and look at their loan, and I'm looking at how much they borrowed and the time for what they want, it's not happening. So you're right. Those properties down the line, they're going to be in distress, and this is going to be an opportunity for us. But I want to try to get them before. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm trying to get them before y'all get them. No, when I say that, I'm just trying to get ahead of the game. All right, and then once I get it, then I bring all y'all in. Don't worry, I'm not leaving nobody out. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ricardo. What you got to say?
Hey, what's going on, Daryl? Do you hear me?
Yeah, man, I hear you loud and clear.
That sounds good. I wanted to reach out because I'm a broker here in Florida. I work with a brokerage at least. We do multifamily, and then I did say about that Reonomy because the main broker told me that he was pulling that list, and it was going to be a consistent target for him as to cold calling, being in contact with those people that do have debt coming due within the next 1 to 3, 5 years. Is there anything that any of you know of that we could possibly help the owner out doing something creative? Because I think it would be more favorable for the owner as well as the buyer. Because I know that in with single family homes, they do sub 2, but I don't know if that's a viable option when it comes to shorter term loans. So yeah, really, that was my question. If there's any creative outcome that could possibly lessen the blow for the seller and then possibly get an owner a good deal.
Hi, this is JR. If you want to take down my phone number and we can talk about some creative deal. I just took down a fourplex on a non-sub 2 sub 2 deal, but no money up front.
So instead of reaching out, how about we discuss it here, because everyone here wants to learn the same thing, right?
Okay,
How
yeah.
can we? So this is about helping each other. It's not about trying to keep it isolated to one another. So in reference to Ricardo, I do want to say, Ricardo, the properties that I'm coming across, I really don't know if we could help the seller in certain circumstances. So what do I mean by that? When I say I don't think we can help them, some of them, the loan is just coming due. And if that loan is coming due, you're either going to do one or two things. You're either going to sell that property or you're going to try to refinance that property. If you, with a bridge, with a couple of the properties that I have seen, the bridge debt was coming due. If they tried to refinance the bridge was going to take the interest rates way up higher than what they already have. And it will wind up putting them into even a greater strain. So in some of these instances, I don't know if we can really help them. Now, if you happen to find a property that may be in distress because, let's say they ran low on money, it has nothing to do with the economy, but they mismanaged the money. Something happened to where to where they're forced to selling, but the terms of things are good and all of that. Yeah, now that's a deal that you could work directly with the seller on. But when it comes to some of these loans that's coming due, that's a good question. How can we, could we help them? Or should we just go directly to the bank, take over the note, and then take possession of the property? Greg, what's your question or what's your comments?
Actually, I do want to actually chime on that. And I did write an article, which I haven't actually published, and did some research on it with regard to the amount of money that's actually coming out for commercial real estate that's actually coming due. And that is close to $1 trillion coming up due between next year, end of this year and early 2025. And
That's right.
and coordinating that and trying to find a way to actually be able to actually get under it. The problem is that these folks are in for 2, maybe a 3-year refi, and there is no extension. And the banks are doing their best to not give extensions because they're borrowing at a higher rate. And because of that, unless you had an additional time in it, maybe a 3-1, something like that, you're paying down that debt. You are either going to have to refi at the higher rate, which they did not underwrite because they probably underwrote at about maybe 100 basis point above when they did it back in 2021. And guess what's going to happen now? Or they're going to have to sell. And as for us, if we're trying to get into it, we can't assume that loan because that loan is very hot. It's a hot potato in our hands. And so we have to, the best way for them will be for us to take it out of their hands before that ticking time bomb goes off in their hands, knowing that we're buying it hopefully at a discount, preventing them from actually getting under, because once the refi is going to be a much higher rate. And so we can help them in that manner, but I haven't seen, unless anyone else know, any other way of actually being able to actually help them and help us and help ourselves.
Right.
So
So
there's a way to help them. I think to help them is keeping them from having to come to the table with $2 million, because they can always use the money to go someplace else and buy a different property at a higher rate. But on this particular one, they're not going to be able to do that. So that's my opinion, that I'm not sure we're going to be able to help them
That way,
to help them at this
Right.
point.
right. So
And to help them is to get them out of trouble.
right. Right. So my question is, history repeats itself, right? We all know this. History always repeats itself. So what can we do? Because I guarantee you, some of us are going to be taking bridge debt again. Some of us are going to be taking risky situations. What can we do to protect ourselves if we happen to take a bridge debt? The one thing I do when I'm underwriting, I don't take bridge debt because the problems I'm looking at, I don't need bridge, right? But the one thing that I do in my regular underwriting for properties, I have a reserve, an operating reserve. I call it emergency money. In the event that something happens, the building becomes half empty, or or even if it become 100% empty, we can still carry that building for a year. That's what I do. We can still carry that building for a year, even if the building went totally empty. Okay. So what can we do when it comes to this bridge debt to protect ourselves from things like this? Help me out, somebody. Tell me what we could do.
Okay, but wait a minute, Daryl, when we're looking at, I'm sorry to hog up the time today, but when we're looking at properties that have a bridge debt, you won't be having that bridge debt because you're buying it outright. You're not trying to
No.
keep that property under whatever type of financing that they have. You're coming up with
Right.
a whole new set of financing. So you're not gonna have a bridge debt.
No, what I'm saying is a lot of these loans that's coming due, a lot of these loans are from bridge.
Mhm.
When we get ready to acquire that next asset,
Yes.
and we have to get bridge, right? Since I don't think no one has a crystal ball or could talk to God directly and say, hey, what's going to happen down the line? How can we protect ourselves with bridge? Should we stack up extra money in the event that something like this happens again, and we could draw off of the operating reserve? I call it the operating reserves, or it could be emergency money. Should we do that? What is it that we should do so that we are not caught in this situation? Like a lot of these operators are going to be caught, and it's already happening. What can we do?
If
I
I can
think-
chime in, Daryl, for
Go
a
ahead.
second.
Go ahead, JL.
The thing that I'm seeing is not because they're bad operators, right, on a bridge debt. And
Right.
if you think about it, for two years ago, banks were selling bridge debt at a whopping 4 or 5%, right?
Yeah.
Now you'd be lucky if you can even find something for 8 or 9. So, and most of them right now are higher, are at a double digit. So with that being said, your statement of how can we help ourselves by not getting foreclosed because of a bridge debt, if I'm understanding that correctly, in reality, and that's one of the reasons why between myself and my partner Todd in our group is that we're still raising capital even though we've already closed on this property, because we don't, and I'm not saying that our debt is a bridge debt. We actually have a amortized 30-year loan, but we don't want to be caught up in a situation to where, oh, we scheduled this much money and this is how we're going to allocate them. This is what we projected. This is what we underwrote and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, just like what you said, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And who knows? We could probably end up going into a higher tier in interest rate again. They just raised up the last one almost about a month ago. And then they're talking about another increase of about 0.25% before the end of the year. What's going to happen next year? Are we going to be at a full term of 1 point come next year? So for me, if you already have the property in place and you have a bridge debt, just keep raising capital. Otherwise, you're going to have to shorten up your exit strategy, because who wants to take over a 10% interest rate on a bridge debt? And no one's going to refi from that. No one's going to make any money from a 10%, unless you have a good IO, right?
Right.
Of let's say 5 years.
That's interesting. That's good. That's good words there. Go ahead, Steve. What you got?
I really like that idea of
Paying,
keep
literally.
raising.
Yeah, and it just keeps raising. So pretty
Yeah,
soon you're going to be, your underwriting needs to be further out into, hey, we underwrote for, let's just say X, but then we didn't realize that we're going to increase the interest. The feds were going to increase the interest rate again to a half a percentage, right? So
Right.
double down on that, or either that, what's going to happen in a commercial sense is you're going to kick your tenants out, and you're going to have a somewhat of a domino effect because of what the feds are doing. You want them to pay for your debt, but at the same time they can't pay for the debt because they're not getting a pay increase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is somewhat a prelude to what has happened because of people saying other things. Hey, I
Yeah.
want free money. During COVID, everybody got free money. And how can we pay for that free money? Well, we're paying for it right now.
There it is. Go ahead, Steve.
I like that idea of that raising the debt. That's essentially what my team is doing. We're trying to find that private money from those passive investors who want to be passive, because we're going to go in and we're going to buy that debt, and that's currently at 8%. We're going to negotiate it so our yield becomes 12, and then we're going to borrow at 8, so there's only a spread of 4. And if I lost anybody there, I don't blame you. I just spit out a lot. But we're essentially doing what JR is talking about, except that I don't have the property. I'm aiming to just get control of the property through that mortgage. But I think JR is right on with, finding those more passive investors who just need a steady return. They don't need double-digit returns like most of us in this room. The people here on this call are active investors. They know what they can get on their own. You guys are all involved in a lot of the day-to-day, I assume, or you can make better than 8%. But for me, our team, we're looking at 7-8% returns to our passive investors who are totally hands off. And that's where you can cover your basis when that changes, cover your butt when those rates are crazy high and you can't refinance out of your bridge loan.
So wow, I definitely like what JR said. And I haven't had the opportunity of getting a bridge debt, but I know somewhere in my history it may happen, but so that I'm not caught out there and and again, it's not because I'm a bad operator, right? It's just that the market shift, things happen, you get caught out there, and you have to try to do whatever you need to do to make things whole. The one thing that stays on my mind, and the reason why I'm really asking these questions is because the one thing that stays on my mind are the passive investors. So many of them, they give us their capital, and they look for the return. They don't look for us saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, but your money is gone." They look for an answer. So, and one thing that stays on my mind is I always got to take care of my investors first. Number one, that's number one. I got to take care of them first. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that my investors get paid. So that's why I'm asking these questions, like, what is it that I can do if I'm ever getting bridge debt? What can I do to where I'm making sure my investors won't lose none of their money? If the economy was to suddenly shift on us unexpected, right? Go ahead, Floretta.
I just had a question. Has anyone had to do a cash call lately, or have they had to do a cash call? And what was the reaction if they did from their investors?
I can speak to that. We actually have one of our mobile home parks. Actually, it's 2 homes in one portfolio. We did do a cash call this year recently because of more because of that park is turning around. It wasn't to do with interest rates because we have private financing on it. But we ended up having to do it because we had a ton of evictions in our park, in the 2 parks, and unfortunately it got underwritten in such a way that we didn't plan for as many evictions. coming out of COVID taking so long, and it's in the state of Illinois. So those evictions really kind of held us up over time, and that was, now that the eviction machine is back on in the state, and we can turn that on and go and go and go. We're finally catching up from those days of COVID when we couldn't get those people out. And so that did result in us doing a cash call. The investors, I think, nobody likes to do it, but they understood why. It was once we explained the reasoning why, how COVID caused, kind of it made a bigger mess than people could have predicted further down the road than anyone considered. They were understanding of it because they're in it for the long game.
So it was used to
So-
stabilize the property, pretty much to stabilize it.
It's being used to stabilize just because of the cleanup from COVID.
Thank you.
So, wait a minute, Floretta, hold on. Floretta, I need, Sandra asked a question. She said, what is a cash call? I know what a cash call is. Steve know what a cash call is, and a lot of people know. But Sandra know what is a cash call. Can you please explain what is a cash call to Sandra?
Okay, so to my understanding, a cash call is when you are an investor in a syndication, for example, and as a investor, the general partner goes to the investors and asks them if they would be willing, or if they would add additional funds to the investment. Did I get that right, Darryl?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Steve, you want to add to that?
No,
Man, my Steve,
I mean,
Steve eating. Steve said, man, don't talk to me right now. I'm chewing.
I'm eating, man. No, that's exactly what we
That's
did. Is
exactly.
we wrote a nice little package together. It was on one of our quarterly reports for the property. It was like, hey, this is how the property's doing. Unfortunately, here's the numbers. Here's why the numbers are looking like they are. We're going to be doing a cash call in the next 2 or 3, whatever the time frame was. And there wasn't a ton of pushback. There was a little bit of further questioning, but it was I'm fortunate that I have a very competent and very good relation manager on my team who talks with those investors, and these are good private friends and investors. So they're more understanding. They've been with him for a long time, so it's not like they're a totally unknown investor, maybe, which is why it went as well as it did.
Right. Because a cash call could be an ugly thing.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, if you have to do a cash call, it could be an ugly thing. When you're going back to those investors and you're saying, well, we need more money. So the one thing, and see, Floretta, that's the reason why when you see me underwrite, right? That's the reason why, Floretta, the way I teach in my underwriting, why I want you to have a certain amount of operating reserve, which is operating reserve, but it's really emergency money. Like I said, I underwrote the Dayton property to where if something was to happen, if that building was to go vacant, 100% vacant, we could carry that building for a year. And that was so that I would not have to do a cash call, or because I don't want to have to come. Well, and before I do a cash call, now a lot of operators, some operators, they'll do a cash call, and they may not put in their own money. But before I do a cash call that asks my investors for money, I'm going to put in all my money. Now, once I run out of money, and if I have no other option, I will then have to come to the investors. But I'm gonna let them know I have put in all my money, all the money that I have, my personal money. I'm talking about my personal money, to prevent from having to do a cash call. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So, but go ahead, Greg, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Darryl. And excuse me, my video is frozen. And yeah, so you're absolutely right about the cash call. And as an investor, when you're reading the PPM, and please do keep in mind that it says there that they may do a cash call, and there are some cash calls that are voluntary. There are some that are mandatory. Depends on how the deal is structured. As long as you've read, accepted that responsibility and accountability, keep that in mind. And also, it is very important to know that the cash call also may change the level of ownership that an individual has. So if your cash call is asking for an additional, say 25% higher than what you've already put in there, just make sure you understand what does that mean in the long term in terms of your level of ownership, if it changes at all, so that at least you know, okay, then I'm adding additional X, Y, and Z amount of ownership, and should everything start to work the way it's supposed to work, I'm expecting to get an additional return on top of what I originally expected.
Excellent, Gregory. Excellent, excellent. Now, just so that there may be some new investors here that's wondering what in the heck did Gregory just say, right? When it comes to the ownership, an investor, a passive investor can only, matter of fact, an investor can only put in a certain amount of money. Anything over that certain percentage, that ownership stake changes. It's going to have to change. But guess what? It has to go through the lender. No, correction. Let me back that up. I don't want to use the word lender. It has to go through the agency. The agency is Freddie and Fannie. Okay. So in that instance, if that ownership changes, Freddie and Fannie has to be notified, because those loan documents, let's say Loretta and I, we 50-50. She signed on the loan, I signed on the loan. But now we in a jam. Now we got to start raising more money. One of them investors done went over that certain percentage that you're not supposed to go over. And that's when, if the lender is paying attention, and if Freddie and Fannie is paying attention, it's going to hit that flag. Bam, red flag. And that's when it's going to come down. Yo, this ownership, this investor put in so much amount of money, blah, blah, blah. And I will say, on the Dayton deal, this is not a cash call. What I'm talking about, we was raising money and everything. We raising money, right? And all of a sudden, when I put this certain investor in, that percentage that he put in took him slightly above, to where we had to kick him back some money, because if we would not have, Freddie would have said, yo, he has a high, he went over this percentage. These documents has one or two things are going to happen with Freddie and Fannie. They're either going to call the loan, or they're going to make you redo all of those documents. And that means every investor has to re-sign every single document all over again. So that's Gregory, that's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, that is part of it, because yeah, it can tip you over that percentage.
Yep.
And also yeah, and that all that equivalates to how much of the deal you also own.
Yeah.
So and just keep those things in mind.
Keep it in mind. Thank you, Gregory. Billy Miller, take us out.
Hey, Daryl. So follow up on your question on bridge. The property I'm working on currently, we are getting bridge on that one. They call it a stabilizing bridge. So the terms on that one are to the point to where, one, it's non-recourse. There's no prepayment penalty, and we're only required to pay 6 months of interest. The property itself is where it's located at. The finance we're going to get, we're actually going to refinance the property either into a USDA product or a HUD product.
Right.
So when we refinance out, we're getting amortized for 35 to 40 years and a lower interest rate. So that's the reason why we took the bridge loan option, so we can get the property, begin to stabilize. But we're also going to go ahead and start the process, because USDA takes about a year or so. And I think HUD does as well. And so
Yep.
that's why we're taking bridge on this one, because when we refinance, we'll be in a better position once we're done.
Excellent, 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 excellent. So, what Billy said there, if you're looking at getting a property in the USDA area, you're most likely going to have to do a bridge. One, the seller isn't going to wait a year before you decide to close. Okay. So in that instance, yes, you got to look at another option, which is bridge, most likely start the paperwork immediately and so forth. That was the Dayton property is in a USDA approved area. We were going to go USDA on that property, but we did not do USDA, not because of the time of the processing. We didn't do USDA because they also would have put a cap on our rent, on how much we would have been able to raise rents. So we decided not to go that route because we didn't want the cap, and that, and we're at market rents. But I want to thank everyone for coming out today. And listen, every Wednesday we're here, every Wednesday at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. The capital raise strategy session is happening. Now, again, I apologize to everyone for putting out the information that Randy Smith was going to be here. But that was an error on my part. But we are going to have Randy Smith here in a couple of weeks. We're going to have him here. But in the meantime, listen, come on back here. Let us see you right here at the capital raise strategy session every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all very much for coming, and y'all have a fantastic week. Oh, and when I come back next week, I'll be back down in Dayton, Texas. That's where I'll be. Oh, if you're in Texas, in that Houston area, hit me up. I'd like to meet up with you and so forth. I'll be looking at some properties down there in Houston while I'm there. Take it easy, everyone. Have a blessed week.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, everybody.